Let's join Heather and our leadership coach for building leaders, Mary Mangione, as they talk about this week's high leverage practice.
Welcome to Little Bits of TLC, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of education. Join our host, Heather Volchko, as this season we focus on high leverage practices, HLPs. Each episode will examine a different HLP, essential strategies designed to enhance teaching and improve outcomes across various educational settings. These practices focus on collaboration, assessment, social, emotional, behavioral support, and instruction, benefiting all K-12 students. I hope you're ready to be both challenged and inspired, because this season is all about mastering the HLPs. This is Little Bits of TLC. Looking for something that actually fits your life? TLC University is here for that. Each week, we spotlight something different. A webinar with real-world insights, a hangout-style interview, and a hands-on workshop or a Q&A where we answer your questions. It's flexible, it's self-paced, and most come with CEUs. So whether you're looking to grow, reflect, or just listen in, there's something here for you. And it's all in one place. university.thresholdlearning.org. That's where you'll find show notes, professional blogs, a full catalog of ACE-accredited courses, and downloadable resources. It all just keeps growing. So whether you're walking the dog, commuting, or taking a breather between the daily grind, TLC University meets you where you are. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org and check out what's new this week. See you then.
Identify and prioritize long and short-term learning goals. Teachers prioritize what is most important for students to learn by providing meaningful access to and success in the general education and other contextually relevant curricula. Teachers use grade-level standards, assessment data, and learning progressions, students' prior knowledge, and IEP goals and benchmarks to make decisions about what is most crucial to emphasize, and develop long and short-term goals accordingly. They understand essential curriculum components, identify essential prerequisites and foundations, and assess student performance in relation to these components.
This week, we're talking about high leverage practice 11, identifying and prioritizing long and short term learning goals. So, Mary, for you, you work with students that have had a very mixed school experience, and you're in the situation of trying to pull all those pieces together and send them off in a meaningful way for, what's after they exit your program. What does this practice look like for you?
So, looking back at thinking about long-term and short-term goals for students, I always come back to this great experience I had when I was a classroom teacher. Our wonderful transition coordinator at the time, she had us present with me as a case manager and also the parent and also the student when they turned 14 and a half. We did this crazy thing where we backwards planned the student's educational journey. So it's called mapping. Ultimately, the the hardest thing is really getting the student to come up with a life after high school goal that is achievable. So if it's something like being a basketball star or a movie, going to Hollywood and being a movie star, maybe we have to come down a little bit and come up with alternative goals, like maybe a screenwriter would be an adequate life after high school goal, right? So after the student has come up with a goal for after high school, you kind of look at the 4 years and you kind of map out what do we do year 4 in order for the student to be a screenwriter. So like we kind of map it out backwards so that we have a very clear picture of what the student might need to do for the next 4 years of high school.
That's so cool because so many times we're constantly talking about relevancy. Like, is what we're doing now connected to their interests or what they're going to do, later in life, those kinds of things. And that just makes everything a given because you've already mapped it. You've already set out this, like, okay, so this is where you want to go. Then here's how you get there and how this right now, this short term piece is actually connected to that long term piece. It makes it so simple, it seems like.
Yeah, I do think that when we look at IEP goals, it can be very complex. And then on top of that, we look at IEP goals and try to figure out how this fits into the big picture, right? And we're ultimately talking about what the student is going to be doing and how we can build them up for success after they leave school-based services. The entire IEP really should be driven by their transition plan, to be
Yes.
honest with you. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that they're functioning and successful members of society after they leave our school system. We do know that after they leave school systems, the services and the supports they receive, like it drops off of a cliff, right? And parents and students are left with very minimal support. So, knowing that, helping families and students come up with pathways to figure out how they can get to the goal, whatever that goal may be. I think that's really just a collaborative and an educational learning effort on our part for the families too. And not only that, but the action steps could change. Things
Mhm.
will adjust and ebb and flow throughout the 4 years, or even after the 4 years if they are enrolled in transition programming. So I really think that that's a piece that, that everyone can work on something together, and a really great visual as to like how to get the student to where they want to be, not where you want them to be, right? But where they want to be so that there's buy-in. And again, like you said, special interests and all those factors are included in the plan.
I'm loving how you're like bringing the families into this because so many times I see this high leverage practice talked about in terms of what is that specific student, what do they need to learn and how do we get them to learn those things, and that's cumulative over time. I love that you're just taking that transition bent with it and that you're including like families are a natural piece of that. But I know you also do a lot of work with community organizations and other, non-school based service providers. And I think you've had some reflections around like what does that even look like either outside of school or after school? Do you want to share a little bit more about kind of how that fits into this conversation too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like I've always worked with students who are at risk, whether they are alternative students or students who have IEPs. And one thing that I've always wondered is after they leave us, after they graduate, what will they be doing and are they set up for success?
Mhm.
So even while they're in high school, I work very closely with the Juvenile Justice Council within our county, just because there's a lot of communication and collaboration behind making sure that the student is successful if they got in trouble outside of school. There was work that we did a couple months ago where students did a panel and talked about their experiences for school. And that caught some attention. And we decided to showcase student voice and students' experiences for the Juvenile Justice Council because we know that the justice system is not always restorative. I know
Mm,
that we are well on our way to ensuring that the system is focused on restorative measures. But when we continually see students or our kids going in and out of the system, returning to school, and then summer hits, they get in trouble again, right? And
mhm,
I know that the juvenile system is trying their best to make sure that we are looking at it from the mental health perspective and the support perspective. But I can't say enough, that the system still is very punitive.
mhm,
So I have a unique ability, opportunity for our students to talk about what's worked, what's not, our families to voice their past experiences on what, like what's happening in their lives outside of school. I interviewed a couple of students in preparation for the panel, and many of the students were talking about how the resources that are available, their answer was, well, I would come to school.
mm.
Like I would get that at school, right? So if school's out for the summer or if school's out for break, where are our kids accessing those resources? So these are just some of the things that I'm really excited to be partnering with our outside communities and organizations. I think it's really, telling that schools are a place of safe haven for students and a place of resource. But at the same time, how do we come together to ensure that we are graduating our kids and exiting our students to the community and they know where to access those resources, who to go to, who to talk to, right? Like all those things. These are the things that kind of keep me awake at night.
Oh, for sure. But, like, you're talking about bringing that voice into those systems so that the systems I think in a way, or maybe even better at understanding what those long-term goals are so that they can set up better supports in the short term to get there. If you're talking about, your juvenile justice system, if you're talking about school systems, regardless, I think we've got people who are in positions of decision making power that see what they see, right? And like to no fault of their own, like they've just walked their, professional and personal walks and they have that vantage point that they have. And until some other perspectives are brought or, given kind of the floor to be heard, we only know what we know. Like, that's true for anybody in any position and in any, like, role in life too. Like, all we see is what our life has given us to see. So it's really, really neat that you're saying, like, well, if you're even going to consider what long-term goals may look like, well, you need to have all those voices at the table, and that's not just for the student or for, their family to support that student. It's for the entire system around the student so that all those things can actually be available to them.
I think when thinking about short term and long term goals, what sometimes needs to come first in order to make the like accelerated progress that you want to make really is changing the mindset of individuals who are at the table.
Mm.
So, not to be cheesy or anything, but like I think we really need to always go back to the why. I mean, we have to go back to the why to talk about like this is what's happening. Are you in or are you not? Like, are you motivated by this work? Like, does this move you? If it does, then let's work on this together. In education, when working with people, if we don't have that innate ability or that desire really to help and change and to make it better for our kids, you're not going to be as motivated. Like I do what I do because it just sometimes makes me a little like like a little upset, right? So when I'm angry or upset, then I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I have to do something about this.
Yes.
That's what makes me want to do this work. That's what makes me excited to do this work. And I have access to kids as a principal. So then I get to see the kids and interact with the kids. And also I get to see, what progress we're making. So immediately I get that feedback from the work I'm doing. So it's got to be hard for other people who are constantly in environments where you're telling kids like you're doing this wrong. So how do we
Mm,
change that, right? But more than anything, if the team members or whoever is on the team, if they are not motivated to make change, if they don't understand why behind we're doing this work, then those small action steps and that bigger picture, I don't know that you're going to be able to get there at the rate that you want to get there. Just because when we're talking about making that level of progress, we're talking about changing the environment and the outcome and the lives of our kids so that they're better members of our society, right? So this is a really important work that we're doing.
well, and I think the long-term outcomes of the population that you and I just we get fired up around, they're not good, right? And so, like, what the systems are currently doing is not leading them to those long-term outcomes that people like you or I can say, "Hey, there's another option here. Like, can you see this for yourself? Can we help you get there? Like, is that something that you're motivated to go for? And can we surround you by people that are also motivated to get you there?" Right? Like, we know the long-term outcomes are just abysmal. So we have to show up with that belief that there is something different so that we can actually help them see those things to create those long-term goals for themselves. And then we can back that up and we'll get the little baby steps to go there. And like you've said the whole way along is like, and then we'll nudge it and we'll change it. And when things, happen, we'll adjust, right? Like all of that's part of the story. But because we know that it's, you know, the outcomes that they're already getting, the baby steps are already there. Like that's the walk that they're already walking. So we have to be able to do something different, which means we have to be able to see different outcomes so that we can figure out what we can try differently to get them to that different place.
I like you're actually triggering me to think about so many different examples right now
Okay.
because oftentimes what ends up happening is we do things for our kids, right?
Mhm.
We create these goals, we do all this work, whether we make our ultimate like bigger goal or not, we expect students to exit school-based services and then continue to make progress towards that goal, like whatever
Mhm.
lifelong goal is. But when we do things for kids or to kids, like they are not well equipped, especially when we think about the support system at home may not be there, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes I hear comments from educators like, well, he is old enough or she is old enough. She's a high
Mhm.
school student now. She should be able to do this XYZ, whatever the situation might be. So I often think about how much we're doing for kids versus doing with kids. We really need to start equipping our families and our kids to start learning the system. So we need to be doing it together so that when they leave, they're able to navigate that, right? Because we also don't want them to completely rely on schools and then not be able to problem solve afterwards. Because the
Well,
system can be tough.
yeah, and I mean, like, if the system, especially if we've just done everything for you and we think we're empowering you by doing things for you, then all of a sudden the bus stop's showing up and now you're supposed to be empowered to go do all these things by yourself. Where have you gotten the reps in? How have you practiced that? Do you even know that you can do that, or you just know other people do that for you, right? Like, how are we truly doing the right now so that they can continue to do that when we're no longer a part of their story?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you so much for this perspective. I know one of the things that I tend to run into pretty frequently is adults kind of defining these things for students. And I love that that was not even part of our conversation. Like, it's not even part of how you see your students or the work that you do or the opportunities that are available to them that they may not even have noticed yet. So, thank you so much for bringing just this perspective and really breathing life into what it means to plan intentionally for those long term outcomes that our students may not even see for themselves at the moment.
Thank you for having me.
Working in a self contained, alternative education, therapeutic, or correctional classroom? Project Onward is a 6-strand cohort based project designed to help you build a strong, structured program for complex students who need extra specialized support. You'll get practical tools to set up clear routines, strengthen engagement, manage behavior, and plan instruction that actually fits the splintered needs of your students. By the end, you'll walk away with a complete, ready to use program that has been adapted to your local needs. Led by Heather Bolchko, Lathrell Eisler, Jonathan Barbario, and Manny Wasias, Project Onward blends proven strategies with vetted experience, helping you move forward with confidence. If you're creating something from the ground up or looking to update what you've got, this project gives you the structure and clarity to do it well. If you support students with low incident needs, Project Base helps you design a consistent classroom built just for them. And if you're working in general ed or resource settings with behavioral challenges, Project Thrive gives you the tools to work with, not against, the flow of your classroom. Visit university.thresholdlearning.org to meet the team and get started today. Let's move onward, together.
Teaching students with disabilities is a dynamic and thoughtful process that demands a blend of content expertise, pedagogical strategies, and keen insight into individual student needs. Effective special education teachers navigate this process by using their deep understanding of general and contextual relevant curricula, coupled with evidence based practices and individualized education programs, or IEP goals. This approach helps them set meaningful long and short term learning objectives, ensuring that instruction is both targeted and effective. At the heart of this approach is well designed instruction. Teachers create learning experiences that maximize academic engagement and actively involve students in meaningful activities. This involves not only following standards and learning progressions, but also making informed decisions about the intensity and focus of instruction. By integrating evidence based practices with their professional judgment, teachers craft lessons that are both proactive and positive, aimed at fostering robust academic growth. Special education teachers also consider a range of factors when setting learning goals. They align their goals with the IEP requirements and broader educational policies, such as those outlined in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, and the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. These laws ensure that students with disabilities are included in the general education curriculum and held to the same standards as their peers, with appropriate accommodations as needed. Additionally, the implementation of standards like the Common Core State Standards, or CCSS, further guides instructional practices. These standards are adapted to meet the needs of students with disabilities, and districts often provide pacing guides to structure the curriculum effectively. Despite the focus on grade level standards, there is also significant emphasis on foundational skills, which are crucial for students' overall success. In essence, the role of special education teachers is to blend these various elements curriculum standards, legal requirements, and individualized needs to design instruction that not only addresses students' specific challenges, but also ensures they have the opportunity to meet the rigorous academic standards set for all students. When it comes to developing and implementing effective instruction and intervention, educators must start by identifying and prioritizing well defined long and short term learning goals. These goals should align with grade level standards, the needs outlined in each student's IEP, and reflect their current performance levels. Effective educators, when implementing HLP 11, utilize their understanding of essential curriculum components to pinpoint foundational prerequisites and assess student performance to ensure these goals are both ambitious and achievable. By focusing on what's most crucial for students to learn and how they can access and benefit from the general education curriculum, educators intersect with several other high leverage practices. This includes assessment data to make instructional adjustments, HLP 6, systematically designing instruction towards specific goals, HLP 12, and providing intensive instruction, HLP 20. Additionally, goal setting is most effective when done collaboratively. The team involved can vary from a diverse group, including families for IEP goals, as specified by IDEA, to just the teacher and student for short term goals. Engaging students in setting and owning their own goals often boosts their motivation and engagement, aligning with HLP 18. Teachers who effectively identify and prioritize long and short term learning goals begin by linking these goals to the essential knowledge and skills outlined in standards and curricula. They use a combination of formative and summative assessments to track student progress, ensuring the goals are ambitious yet attainable and meaningful for students with disabilities in inclusive classrooms. These teachers thoughtfully consider each student's unique strengths and needs, setting goals that challenge them appropriately while remaining achievable. Collaboration with families is key as it helps educators understand the instructional priorities valued at home. Teachers are well versed in grade level standards, focusing on key concepts or big ideas, and teaching these foundational elements first. They consistently connect content back to these big ideas throughout the year for continuity and depth. Moreover, effective teachers break down standards into teachable components, identifying the prerequisite and component skills students need to master. This detailed approach ensures that instruction is targeted and effective, laying a strong foundation for meaningful learning and success. To support teachers effectively, school leaders should focus on several key areas. First, it's crucial to offer instruction, professional development, or coaching that equips educators with the skills to craft high quality, specific, long, and short term learning goals. This guidance should help teachers ensure their goals meet relevant benchmarks and align closely with standards and individual education plan IEP requirements. School leaders should also evaluate these goals to make sure they are not only ambitious, but also practical and well connected to the necessary benchmarks. Providing constructive feedback is essential. Leaders should review the quality, specificity, and accountability of goals, offering support for any needed revisions. Additionally, it's important to make sure that teachers have robust plans for assessing how well students are meeting their goals. School leaders should offer support with data collection and management to help teachers track progress effectively and adjust their strategies as needed. Prioritized short and long term learning goals are the driving force behind the effective instruction, yet these goals are influenced by grade level standards and mandates that ensure students' access to the general education curriculum. Not all standards carry the same weight. Similarly, not every conceptual understanding or skill holds equal importance. For some students, out of level instruction may be necessary to address their unique needs. Effective teachers must focus on critical content by aligning students' goals with their current performance levels, strengths, and needs, ensuring that the instruction remains relevant and impactful. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Join us next week when Heather sits down with our instructional coach for early learners, Ann Potter, to talk about our next high leverage practice.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, consider dropping a like and follow at Threshold Learning TLC on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you like our show, share the podcast with your colleagues. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to promote the podcast. Let them know that they can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that they catch their podcast. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there. Attention educators pursuing behavior analysis certification and universities preparing them for success. Supervision with TLC offers 100% remote fieldwork supervision designed specifically for school-based professionals. Educators can earn their hours right in their schools without leaving their classroom, all while being supported by experienced BCBAs who understand the realities of education. With month-to-month scheduling, affordable rates, and both live video and asynchronous chat, our fieldwork supervision model is designed to fit into your life, not the other way around. We also invite universities to enhance their graduate programs in partnership with our team of practicing school-based BCBAs. Our fieldwork supervision model keeps students on track for certification by helping them connect their practice to all exam domains so that they can confidently pass the exam. Explore more at university.thresholdlearning.org/supervision or email supervision@thresholdlearning.org to connect. Supervision with TLC, where educators grow into behavior analysts.